There will come a moment when you're not the center of someone's world anymore. When the messages slow down, the calls vanish, and your presence feels invisible. And you will wonder, what did I do wrong? But here's the truth, it's not always about you. Sometimes people ignore you because they never truly saw you. And sometimes they ignore you because they know exactly how much you care. They test the limits of your self respect, hoping you'll lower your standards just to be seen again. Ignoring is communication. It might not come with words, but it speaks louder than most conversations. When someone ignores you, they're not just being silent, they're sending a message. And whether they realize it or not, that silence is often more revealing than anything they could ever say. It's an expression of where they stand, what they value, and how they feel about the space you hold in their life. Many people overlook this, hoping the silence is temporary, thinking that if they wait long enough, it'll all make sense. But the truth is, silence is a choice. It's rarely accidental. It's deliberate and it communicates a level of emotional priority or the lack of it. People show you what they think of you by how they treat you in your absence, in your silence, and especially when they know you're waiting. If someone consistently chooses to ignore you, they are making a statement. You're not important enough right now for my time or attention. That may feel harsh, but it's a necessary realization. Ignoring is not a passive act. It's an active decision to withhold engagement, and that decision reflects something deeper than just a being busy or a forgetting. It reflects disinterest, discomfort, or disconnection. And when you start looking at it from that angle, you begin to understand that you don't need closure or clarification. You already got it. Their silence was the closure. This doesn't mean you should live in anger or bitterness toward people who ignore you. On the contrary, this understanding gives you power, not to fight, but to free yourself. It allows you to stop begging for explanations from those who've already shown you their capacity to care. It teaches you to interpret silence as a language of behavior, one that you no longer need to translate through self-doubt. Because when someone chooses to ignore you, it is often more about them than it is about you. It might be their inability to handle difficult emotions, their fear of confrontation, or simply their lack of emotional maturity. But no matter the reason, it still communicates where they are and where you don't need to stay. Ignoring can also be used as a manipulation tactic. People who want to feel powerful may withdraw communication to make you feel anxious, insecure, or desperate. This type of behavior is toxic and it thrives on your emotional reaction. When you allow someone's silence to disturb your peace, you give them control. But when you acknowledge the silence for what it is, a message, you reclaim your power. You begin to see that your worth is not determined by someone's willingness to reply. It is measured by how you respond when they don't. Every time someone ignores you, you are given a choice. Do you chase their attention or do you choose your dignity? One leads to confusion, the other to clarity. One leads to self-abandonment, the other to self-respect. And once you start to value your energy, you'll stop explaining your worth to people who can't hear you, and you'll stop knocking on doors that only open when it's convenient for them. Because your peace, your presence, and your heart are not to be put on pause for someone who can't even press play on a conversation. Ignoring is not absence, it is presence in disguise. It's a form of expression. And the moment you learn to read that expression without personalizing it, you grow. You mature. You stop needing answers from people who've already told you everything with their silence. Self worth isn't external. It doesn't come from compliments, approval, or how many people pay attention to you. It's not built on someone's affection, validation, or acknowledgement. Real self worth comes from within, quiet, steady, and independent of the shifting opinions of the outside world. Yet many people go through life constantly trying to prove themselves, waiting for someone to say, "You're enougher," before they believe it. That's the trap. Because when your self worth is placed in the hands of others, it becomes fragile. It rises and falls based on their mood, their attention, their decisions. And that kind of worth will never feel secure. People are often taught to measure their value by how much they are wanted, noticed, or needed. So they start performing, overgiving, over-explaining, and overcompensating just to feel worthy of love or belonging. But chasing approval only distances you from yourself. You begin to shape your identity around what others expect instead of who you truly are. And when the attention fades, when the praise stops, when the messages go unanswered, You feel empty, not because you are, but because you gave away the responsibility of seeing your own value. When you internalize your self worth, everything changes. You stop trying to convince people to choose you. On Deepita, you stop lowering your standards just to fit into someone else's limited perception. You no longer tolerate disrespect disguised as love or inconsistency disguised as busy. You begin to realize that being chosen by others is not the same as being valued by yourself. And that realization shifts your entire perspective. Because now you're not looking for someone to complete you, you're building a life that reflects your completeness. This doesn't mean you won't want love, connection, or community. It means those things will no longer define you. They will enhance your life, not validate it. You'll stop begging for bare minimums and start expecting alignment. You won't chase attention, you'll attract authenticity. And the people who recognize your worth won't need to be reminded of it because they'll see what you see. Someone who knows who they are, even when no one is looking. There's a strength that comes from knowing you are enough, even when you're overlooked. There's a power in standing tall in your truth, even when others don't acknowledge it. And there's a deep peace that grows when you no longer search the world for something that was always within you. You stop auditioning for roles in people's lives where your part is only appreciated when they need something. You stop shrinking to be loved and start expanding to be real. You can tell how much you value yourself by what you accept. Do you tolerate silence when you deserve clarity? Do you allow confusion where there should be commitment? Do you lower your voice to make others feel comfortable while silencing your own needs? These aren't just choices, they're reflections of what you believe about yourself. And when your self-worth is internal, those choices start to change. You begin to say no, not out of fear, but out of deep self-respect. You let go of people who treat you like an option, not because you're bitter, but because you finally realize you were never meant to settle. You are not a project to be fixed. You are not a reflection of someone else's ability to love properly. You are not less just because someone failed to see you more. The day you stop asking people to validate your worth is the day you step into your real power. Because the truth is, self-worth was never meant to be borrowed. It was meant to be owned. Power is in response, not reaction. When something upsets you, triggers you, or catches you off guard, your first instinct is often to react. That reaction might be anger, defensiveness, or even silence, but it's immediate, emotional, and often impulsive. It comes from a place of protection, not perspective. And while it might feel satisfying in the moment, reactions usually give your power away. They're driven by emotion without reflection. But a response, that's different. A response is intentional. It's thoughtful. It comes from a place of self-awareness, not self-defense. And it is in that space between stimulus and choice where your true strength lives. In everyday life, people are constantly presented with situations that test their emotional control. Someone insults you, someone ignores you, someone betrays your trust. Your mind wants to strike back, to defend, to make them feel what you feel. But reacting out of hurt often leads to regret. You say things you didn't mean. You do things that don't align with your values. And in doing so, you surrender your emotional clarity to someone else's chaos. You become a mirror of their dysfunction instead of a master of your own energy. That's why power is not in how loud you can get or how fast you can clap back. Power is in restraint. It's in choosing stillness when provoked, peace when pushed, and wisdom when wounded. This doesn't mean you stay silent forever. It means you pause, you process, and then you speak from understanding, not ego. Because when you respond instead of react, you shift the energy. You stop the cycle of emotional ping pong and start leading with maturity. A reaction is often based on unresolved emotions, past wounds, unhealed traumas, fears of abandonment or rejection. That's why the smallest comment can feel like an attack. It's not always the present moment that's hurting you. It's the memory it awakens. But a response comes from healing. It comes from self-knowledge. When you know who you are, you don't need to prove it every time someone doubts you. You can let people misunderstand you without feeling the urge to correct them. That's power. Being reactive keeps you stuck. It makes you emotionally predictable, and predictable people are easy to manipulate. If someone knows they can get under your skin with a few words, they can control your mood. But when you become unbothered, not because you don't feel, but because you've learned how to manage what you feel, then no one can pull you out of your peace unless you let them. You move from being emotionally available to every provocation to becoming emotionally intelligent. And emotional intelligence is quiet power. Responding also allows you to lead yourself through difficult moments with grace. It doesn't mean you suppress how you feel. It means you acknowledge the emotion, but you don't let it make decisions for you. You ask yourself, what is the outcome I want here? Will reacting bring me closer to peace or drag me further from it? This kind of internal questioning builds self trust. And the more you trust yourself to handle things with calm clarity, the more empowered you feel in any environment. There's a difference between being reactive and being real. Realness doesn't require a scene, it doesn't demand revenge. It stands tall in silence if needed, and it speaks only when necessary. A calm mind is not a weak one. It's a focused. It's a mind that knows how to rise above noise, not sink into it. That's where transformation begins. When you no longer let the outside world dictate your inner world. When you become so anchored in who you are that nothing can shake you. That's the kind of power no reaction can ever match. It's not always about you. One of the most freeing things you'll ever realize is that not every mood, action, or silence from another person is a reflection of you. People are carrying silent battles you'll never see. They are processing pain they don't talk about, reliving memories they haven't healed from, and facing fears that have nothing to do with you. But if you're not careful, you'll make their distance personal. You'll internalize their coldness as rejection, their silence as punishment, their distraction as disinterest. And when you do that, you give your peace away to things that were never yours to carry. We live in a world that often teaches us to take everything personally. Someone doesn't call back. You must have done something wrong. Someone's energy shifts. You assume they're mad at you. But here's the truth. Most of what people do or don't do is about where they are in their own story. They may be emotionally exhausted, mentally overwhelmed, or simply disconnected from themselves. And their behavior is more of a reflection of that internal chaos than it is a verdict on your worth. When you constantly take things personally, you start to live in a state of overthinking. You replay conversations, read between lines that aren't there, and create stories in your head based on assumptions rather than facts. This mental noise keeps you stuck. It makes you question your value, your relationships, and your stability. But the moment you remind yourself that people are allowed to have bad days, off moods, or personal struggles that don't revolve around you, you release yourself from emotional prison. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to chase explanations or solve everyone's silence. Sometimes people don't respond because they're processing. Sometimes they distance themselves not out of resentment, but out of emotional self protection. And sometimes people can't give what they've never learned how to receive. That doesn't make you unlovable or wrong. It just means they're in a space you can't reach or heal. This awareness doesn't make you cold or disconnected. It makes you emotionally mature. It teaches you to pause before you absorb someone else's behavior as a statement about you. It allows you to offer compassion without losing your boundaries. And most importantly, it helps you stay anchored in your truth while others navigate their storms. You also learn not to react with insecurity every time someone pulls away. You stop asking, "Oh, what did I do?" and start understanding, maybe it's not about me. This shift doesn't mean you ignore red flags or dismiss disrespect. It means you learn to discern between someone's unhealed emotions and your emotions and your own inner peace. Not everything is an attack. Not every delay is rejection. And not every closed door is a reflection of your inadequacy. People are complex. You're not responsible for decoding everyone's silence or carrying their emotional weight. Your responsibility is to stay rooted in your self-awareness, your intentions, and your growth. When someone withdraws, it's okay to give them space. When someone reacts harshly, it's okay to choose grace over retaliation. And when someone's actions confuse you, it's okay to seek clarity without assuming blame. The most powerful thing you can do is remain calm and grounded in a world full of emotional projection. To know who you are so deeply that someone else's confusion doesn't shake your confidence. To remind yourself daily, their behavior is information, not definition, not definition. The more you understand that it's not always about you, the more peace you'll feel, and the less you'll carry that was never meant for you in the first place. Attention isn't love. It can feel like it, especially when you've been starved of connection or validation. But the two are not the same. Attention is immediate, surface level, and often fleeting. It can be exciting, addictive even, because it fills a temporary void. It makes you feel seen for a moment. But love is different. Love is consistent. It's rooted in depth, not performance. Love doesn't just show up when it's convenient or when you're at your best. It stays through growth, through silence, through stillness. And once you learn to tell the difference, you stop settling for crumbs when you deserve a feast. Attention can be manipulated. It can be given for selfish reasons, because someone is bored, lonely, or wants to feel powerful. It can be used to maintain control, to create false hope, or to keep you emotionally invested without any real commitment. Just because someone checks on you doesn't mean they care about you. Just because someone compliments you doesn't mean they respect you. And just because someone spends time with you doesn't mean they value you. True love shows itself through intention, through consistency, and through action that aligns with words. The danger of confusing attention with love is that you start to measure your worth by how much attention you receive. You start to chase it. You start to think, if I'm not being noticed, I must not matter. But you do matter, even when no one is clapping, texting, liking, or showing up. Your value isn't proven by who reaches out. It's proven by how you treat yourself when no one else is watching. The moment you make attention your emotional currency, you'll always be bankrupt when someone pulls away. But when you make self-worth your foundation, love becomes a bonus, not a necessity. Love requires effort. It involves showing up on hard days, holding space for emotions, listening without judgment, and supporting someone through their evolution. It's not loud all the time. It doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes love is quiet presence, subtle encouragement, or just being a safe place to land. Attention, on the other hand, often comes with performance. It may be intense in the beginning but fade quickly when real intimacy is required. And that's how people get hurt. They confuse chemistry with compatibility, obsession with affection, and temporary interest with emotional investment. The truth is, anyone can give you attention, but not everyone is willing to give you love. Love requires vulnerability. It demands patience, honesty, and emotional maturity. It's not about how someone makes you feel in the moment. It's about how they show up for you over time. When someone truly loves you, they're not just there for your highs, they hold you through your lows. They don't just want your presence, they care about your peace. You begin to heal when you stop chasing attention and start recognizing the power of presence, the kind that doesn't need to impress or prove itself. You become more grounded when you stop craving validation and start cultivating self-acceptance. Because love that is real will never feel like confusion, inconsistency, or manipulation. It won't require you to lose yourself in order to keep it. It will feel like alignment, respect, and growth. When you elevate your standards, attention stops being enough. You no longer fall for sweet words with no follow-through or charming moments that lack meaning. You wait for depth, for intention, for real love, the kind that doesn't come and go based on convenience. And until then, you learn to give that love to yourself. Because the most dangerous thing you can do is give your heart to someone who only wants to borrow your time. And the most powerful thing you can do is know the difference. There comes a point in your growth where you no longer crave approval, you crave alignment. Approval is about performance, fitting in, and meeting the expectations of others. It's the subconscious need to be liked, accepted, or validated, even if it means bending, shrinking, or silencing your truth. But alignment is about authenticity. It's the peace that comes from living in harmony with your values, your vision, and your voice. It's when your actions match your beliefs, and your relationships reflect your self-respect. And once you taste that level of clarity, you stop seeking applause from rooms where your soul doesn't belong. The pursuit of approval starts early. We're taught to please, to be agreeable, to not rock the boat. We're rewarded for compliance, not for courage. So we learn to smile through discomfort, to tolerate what bothers us, and to compromise even when it costs us our peace. But the longer you live for approval, the more you abandon yourself. You say yes, sir, when you mean a no. You shrink to avoid conflict, and you wear masks just to feel accepted. And while you may gain short-term praise, you lose long-term power. Because approval is borrowed confidence. It's never rooted in who you truly are. Alignment, on the other hand, is an internal compass. It's the stillness that whispers, "This is who I am, and I don't have to pretend to be anything else." It's not about rebelling or resisting everyone's opinion. It's about not depending on them to feel whole. When you shift into alignment, you begin to evaluate your choices not by how they'll be received, but by how they resonate with your soul. You stop asking, "Will they approve?" and start asking, "Does this feel right for me?" That single question changes everything. Living in alignment means choosing environments that nourish you, not deplete you. It means honoring your energy, your intuition, and your emotional boundaries. It's turning down opportunities that don't fit your values, even if they come with recognition. It's walking away from connections that feel forced, even if they look good on paper. Because alignment isn't about how things appear, it's about how they feel. And if something looks perfect but feels wrong, it's not aligned. Approval often requires you to play a role. But alignment demands that you be real. And being real may mean losing some people, opportunities, or status. But it also means gaining yourself. You learn to disappoint others before you abandon yourself. You stop chasing popularity and start embodying purpose. And in that shift, you find strength, not from how many people agree with you, but from how clearly you stand in your truth. When you live in alignment, your life begins to feel lighter. You attract what is meant for you, not what you have to chase. You make decisions with clarity, not confusion. And you find relationships that connect with your soul, not just your status. People may not always understand your path, and that's okay. Alignment isn't about being understood by everyone. It's about being true to yourself in every moment. The deeper you grow, the more you'll be tested. People will question your choices, your boundaries, your shifts. But growth isn't about explanation. It's about elevation. And when your life aligns with your values, you'll stop needing to justify your journey. You'll realize that the right people don't need you to perform. They don't need you to water yourself down. They meet you where you are because they're aligned with where you're headed. So let go of the pressure to impress, to fit, to please. Approval is fleeting. Alignment is freedom. And when you stop seeking permission to be yourself, you finally become who you were always meant to be. Your energy is currency. Every day, you wake up with a limited amount of it: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And just like money, where you spend it determines what you get in return. But unlike money, energy doesn't come with clear statements showing where it's going or what's draining it. That's why so many people walk around exhausted, burned out, or emotionally bankrupt, because they've been investing their energy in places that yield no return. Energy is more than how you feel physically. It's the clarity of thoughts, the quality of your attention, and the strength of your emotions. When you give your energy to overthinking, to toxic relationships, to worrying about things you can't control, you're spending your most valuable resource in ways that keep you stuck. And the trap is that it often feels normal. We get used to giving, doing, proving, and fixing. We confuse busyness with purpose. But when you truly start valuing your energy, you become more selective. You stop pouring into people who leave you empty. You stop chasing situations that leave you scattered. You start honoring your internal economy. Every interaction is an exchange. Some people recharge you, others deplete you. Some environments uplift your spirit, others drain it slowly, like a leak you don't notice until you're bone dry. The key is learning to audit where your energy goes. Who do you feel lighter around? What activities leave you feeling fulfilled instead of fatigued? What thoughts uplift you instead of spiraling you into anxiety? When you become aware of these patterns, you stop spending energy reactively and start investing it intentionally. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's strategic. You can't build anything meaningful, relationships, goals, peace, if you're constantly running on empty. And no one else is responsible for guarding your energy but you. Not everyone deserves access to your mind, your heart, your presence. Just because someone wants your time doesn't mean you owe it. Just because something is urgent doesn't mean it's important. Energy management is boundary management. It's saying a no without guilt. It's walking away without explanation. It's knowing that your energy is a gift and not everyone is entitled to it. You attract what aligns with your energy. When you're drained, you attract chaos. When you're grounded, you attract clarity. When you're centered, you attract peace. So if you want to change what's showing up in your life, start by changing what you're allowing your energy to feed. Stop entertaining people who thrive on conflict. Stop replaying conversations that ended long ago. Stop trying to convince someone of your worth. That's not an energy investment, it's an emotional expense. The more intentional you become, the more powerful your presence becomes. You begin to show up fully for what matters. You operate with focus, not frenzy. You create space for rest, reflection, and renewal. And you stop measuring your day by how much you did. Instead, you measure it by how much energy you preserved for what truly counts. When you learn to manage your energy, you reclaim your power. You no longer chase validation because you realize it's draining. You no longer people please because you realize it's depleting. You move through life with clarity because you're no longer leaking energy into places that don't feed your soul. That's when everything begins to shift. Your confidence rises, your peace multiplies, your decisions sharpen. Because when your energy is protected, your life becomes intentional. You stop reacting to the world and start creating from within it.